Hello everyone, welcome back to our English 7 learning episode of City Science Integrated School. How are you guys? Now we are on weeks 7 to 8. And our topic for this week is about linear and non-linear text. This lesson focuses on understanding the differences between linear and non-linear text. As you journey through this part of the lesson, you will be introduced to sequential and non-sequential reading and common examples of non-linear representations like charts, tables, and graphs. You are also expected to analyze relationships between these textual representations and transcode linear to nonlinear text, and vice versa. Before we proceed to the lesson, let me first thank Mr. Kent Gementiza, professional teacher and community development worker at College of the Immaculate Conception, for this week's lesson slides. Now, understanding the differences between linear and non-linear text is an essential skill as we encounter these texts almost every day. The main difference between the two lies in the way the text is read or processed by an individual. Experts call this pattern of reading a material as reading path. Now, let us begin with linear text. What is linear text? This is the most common type of text that needs to be read from beginning to end. It focuses on the arrangement of the words, both grammatically and stylistically. Generally, texts printed on paper are considered as linear texts like novel, poems, short stories, letters, educational texts. All those texts we read from the beginning to the end are linear texts. Now, how about nonlinear? In nonlinear text, the readers do not have to go through the text in a sequential manner in order to make sense of the text. So it means that wherever you look, you can start interpreting a particular element of that nonlinear representation. It only means that this is sequence and text independent. Moving further, most people consider text with visuals or graphs along with it as examples for nonlinear text. Examples of nonlinear. The first example is charts or graphs. Now, I know that you are familiar with this because since you are in elementary, you have been exposed to this kind of visual representations. And also in different types of tests and assessments, maybe you have interpreted or you were asked to interpret a particular chart or graph, or you have to make sense of these visual representations in order for you to answer the comprehension questions that follow. These are the representation of data represented by symbols or legends. And we have different kinds of graphs or charts. To begin with, we have the concept diagram. This concept diagram typically represents ideas and information as boxes and circles, and these use lines to show the relationship between them. A diagram that shows suggested relationships between concepts. Here is an example of concept maps. Concept maps, when you draw a concept map, you're actually creating a visual image of that subject, a visual that you can analyze to check your understanding of a subject. Concept maps are superior in that sense because not only they improve processing of facts, but also understanding of facts or concepts. The next chart or graph is line graph, a common type of chart which displays the information as a series of data points connected by line segments to show trends. This may be ascending or descending depending on the data or fact being represented. So of course, you have to take note that the line graph is composed of dots and segments, or line segments specifically. Like this. This is an example, a headline inflation rates in the Philippines. So you can see that you can see the trend, or you can see the pattern in which they may be ascending and descending depending on the data to be plotted or to be represented. A line graph is a graphical display of information that changes continuously over a period of time. Now, let's proceed to the next kind of graph, which is a bar graph. From the name itself, bar. This is a chart which represents data with rectangular bars which differ their sizes. Okay, so this is an example of a bar graph. For example, your grades or your learning progress chart. All right. A bar graph may run horizontally or vertically. The important thing to know is that the longer the bar, the greater its value. Bar graphs are better for comparing larger changes or differences in data among groups. The next one is, we are all familiar with this, pie graph, a circular chart which is divided into slices or portions to illustrate proportion. This one reminds me of one thing, pizza. A pie chart is a graphic that shows the breakdown of items in a set as percentages, representing them as slices of a pie. The key to a pie chart is that all of the slices must equal 100%. Finally, the last example of nonlinear text or nonlinear representation is Venn diagram. A Venn diagram is a visual depiction of the similarities and differences between two or more different items. It consists of a series of shapes, usually circles, whose edges overlap. Of course, in the middle of the circle or in each circle, the differences or the unique features or characteristics of a particular subject. And then on the overlapping spaces, there we can see their similarities. Now, I have presented you the differences between linear and non-linear text. And for our last subtopic, we have transcoding linear to non-linear text and vice versa. To transcode means to transform something from one form to another. In order to transcode a linear to a non-linear text or the other way around, one must first be able to fully understand what the source text is about. This way, deciding on the proper text type to be used in the transcoding process will be a lot easier. To transcode a linear text to a non-linear text, one may follow these steps. Read and understand the source text to get its main or central ideas. So you have to observe if it's a non-linear text, and if it's a linear text, you really have to read it more than once in order for you to absorb what is it all about. Number two, extract important details to be included in the visual presentation. So this time, you have to take note of the most important, most significant elements or details or facts about the source text. Step three, remember to use words or phrases only so that it will be more concise and it will be easier for you to use the phrases and words that you have noted. Step 4, to be organized, classify information into categories. So after getting the words and phrases or the information, you have to classify them into themes or categories for easy interpretation. Step 5 and the last step is make sure to use the appropriate nonlinear text in presenting your information. For example, I have given you the, the examples of nonlinear text and also their uses so that you can use appropriate non-linear representation for a particular kind of data or information. For example, if you were talking the budget allocation, of course, the more appropriate one is the pie chart. If you are talking about the progress, about the sales, so it be the, the line chart. So if it's about the similarities and the differences of, for example, of animals, of the viruses, the administrations, the government. So we will use the Venn diagram. So there you have it, my dear viewers and learners. So that's it for our lessons for weeks 7 to 8. So make sure you will be accomplishing the learning tasks in the module and in the Google Classroom. And also, of course, please answer the Google assessment for our post-test this week's 7 and 8. So once again, this is Teacher Rex from Columbus Science Integrated School, your online English teacher. So till our next learning episode. Bye bye.